When you understand that every person truly has inherent value, deep value, even if you want to call it monetary value, if you want to look at it that way, your mindset shifts because you're no longer looking at the dollar. You're just looking at human life in a different model.
All right. Hello. Welcome to another episode of the Sell by Being Human podcast. I'm your host, Alex Smith, and this is the podcast where we learn from people in all walks of life that sell things through the lens of human connection. I believe that we can learn human skills from people all around us, and this is the podcast where I bring the very best of those people together. And gang, this person that we have on today is just, someone I knew I had to talk to. His TED Talk immediately made me stop and think, and had to have him on. So this is a guy that spent over 25 years in leading companies like Microsoft, Outreach, Accenture, in sales leadership roles. And what caught my attention wasn't just his resume; it was just a simple idea, and that idea was, in the world that's obsessed with scaling activity, this is a dude that is talking about things like trust and relationship building and becoming more referable. His TED Talk, TEDx Talk, has been viewed over 300,000 times in just a few days. He's an editor's pick with TED, and he asks a simple question that every person, every seller, every leader needs to wrestle with around reputations and referrals. I'm so super glad to welcome none other than Stephen Uman to the podcast. Welcome, Stephen.
Man, what an intro. But first and foremost, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. And I just love when relationships like this start because of the very premise of everything that I teach, which is a referral or a warm introduction, which genius Alex, the way that you got me on, the way that you came about is you found somebody that was a mutual connection, asked specifically for the intro. And, further on when I talk about some of the tactics, the very thing that I teach is how we were able to connect to begin with. So thank you for having me. And I appreciate you, brother.
I love it. And appreciate Rich Bishop, former guest, for introducing me, another outlier from the Outlier Project. So, Stephen, we'll get into all of the different things in your talk and what you talk about being referable. So anybody that's listening to this who's like, man, yes, I know the principle of building relationships. And yes, it's all about not what you know, but who you know. People understand those principles. And I think they think about, I need to know what to do to do that. I need to know what are the tactics and the different things. And we'll talk about the differences of what you talk about in tactics and principles. But Stephen, I just want to go to the essence, because I think a lot of your message is really is very intertwined with mine about human connection and influence and human signals. So I would love your answer to this question. So when you see that title, Stephen, the title of the podcast is Sell by Being Human. What does that mean to you when you hear that phrase?
Ooh, such a great question. And when you don't prepare for questions, it does give you pause. And that's what I love about these conversations is they're authentic, they're real, and they're not scripted. To sell by being human. When I think about that term, I think about the resonance of our experiences, positive, negative. Every human on the planet can connect at some level. We're all buyers. We're all sellers. What ends up happening, and this is just me, I feel like the biggest disconnect or maybe one of the biggest disconnects, is when we're on the sell side and we forget what it's like to be a buyer because we're all about our side. And when we're on the buy side, we treat sellers, even if we are a seller, in a way that we would not want our buyers to treat us. That happens more often than I think people would care to admit. But to sell by being human is to remember both sides equally.
Mm.
So when you show up, you remember what it's like as a buyer to have a bad day if you're selling to somebody. And you know what? You got some bad news that day. And this buyer is being a jerk to me. And instead of being like, oh, buyers are liars, and we say all these things, take it just a moment and step back and step into their world. Because we all live in the exact same world. Maybe not the same situation, but the physical world, we all live in it. So step into their world.
Yeah. There's human beings on both sides of any kind of interaction, any relationship, any leader, employee relationship. And we stop and we sometimes think we're thinking about like our agenda and what we want. And, it's rare to actually do the work to say, what does this person care about? What are they up against? What are they trying to prove? Who is the person? I always say, like, there's always, like, people will give us human signals, that I call them, that they'll give us clues about who they are as a person, but we blow right by them in pursuit of our initiatives and what we're trying to do. And so I'm curious, like, this is a big one too. So I just want to give you the big ones, get them out of the way, because I think it'll go in this direction. Because a lot of your what you talk about, what you just said is there's human beings on both sides, and we stop to think about that. So what do you think the value of that is? Like, just simply put, what is the value of a true human relationship in business? And maybe what are some things throughout your career that have made you realize it?
Let me answer it this way with the learning lesson first, and then I'll explain the value and I'll bucket them into different areas. The learning lesson was the fact that, I did grow up extremely poor. I had a great upbringing. I was very lucky. I had parents that loved me. They were immigrants, came into this country, the typical immigrant story where you don't have anything growing up. They struggled and, worked their tail off to make sure that we were protected from that. But we always had food, shelter, clothing, right? But when you are told growing up, we don't have money for that, we don't have money for that, that situation and that circumstance does impact you. And so in my early 20s, everything I was trying to do was make a dollar, earn money. I never wanted to be poor. What that does, though, is you show up to the world very differently, because even if you are kind, nice, all these things, but at the forefront of your mind is, I'm doing something because I want to earn a dollar, it does not end well. People don't like those type of individuals if you're on the other side of the table from somebody that you can tell is going to do anything possible or talk to you in a way where what they care first about is the money, right? So again, luckily enough, I believe I never had to like cross a line to make a dollar, but it was very clear that that was what was on my mind. So let me kind of leave that there just as the backdrop. Fast forward, a lot of personal tragedies, personal issues, business learning lessons and all that kind of stuff. I come out the other side of that in this realization that people have value. I knew that from a young age, right? We all, I think everyone actually understands that people have value from a young age, but they understand that maybe at a peripheral level, conceptual level, but not at a deep understanding until you go through some ish, we'll just call it.
Right.
When you understand that every person truly has inherent value, deep value, even if you want to call it monetary value, if you want to look at it that way, your mindset shifts because you're no longer looking at the dollar. You're just looking at human life in a different model, right? And so when I think about value, if every person has value, there's one place where it's this learning, or let's call it educational value. You can learn something from every human being on the planet. You can learn something positive. You can learn what not to do. I feel like I'm a great person to talk to learn everything not to do because I've made every mistake possible in business, right? So you want to learn something, you come to me because I'll tell you all the things not to do, right? So you have this sort of like learning segment in terms of the value of human relationship. And you can only get that because people have experience. So that's the education of experience that you can learn from people. There's another portion of it, which is the psychology of understanding cause and effect. The more that you're in a relationship with someone, it's still all part of learning, but there's a deeply psychological, emotional, spiritual, whatever you want to call it, all the above, of this cause and effect, like, and this is going to sound super, super basic. Like, why do we do certain things? Usually because we get a benefit out of it. So, do you typically get better results if you're kind to someone? What kind of reaction do you get? But then we wonder why are people still rude to people? Like, I don't get it, right? Like, I've done it too. I'm still that way at times. Sometimes I get upset because guess what? They're being rude to me and I'm, all this kind of stuff. So that's why that human relationship matters, because you do get that cause and effect. And so there's so much value in that, because now you take that into the next lesson, into the next lesson, into the next relationship, right? And then you could talk about the actual monetary business value, because here's the thing. When you think about the value in the marketplace, if you think about monetary value, who is actually paying for the value you're bringing to the marketplace? Like, if I were to ask you that question, who's paying the value? What would your answer be for that value? Who actually pays for that?
I mean, who's responsible? Who pays for it? I mean,
it's in the title of this very podcast.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, the person, like
it's humans.
The humans, yeah.
So, the point being is, when you think about the value of a human relationship, we got down to brass tacks. Like, you need the currency or the money to live.
Yeah.
There's value in that, right? So,
yeah, you're right. Yeah.
The reason I bring it up that way is because I hear so much out there about, AI is taking our jobs. AI is going to replace humans. Like, okay, you really believe that? And logically, even if you just extrapolate that, who's going to pay for anything then? Like, if it's just a bunch of AI bots out there, I just can't see it. Who's providing the value for who? Robots providing the value for robots? Okay, then I guess you get what I'm saying here.
Right.
So this is why I think the value of humanity can never be underscored, because that's actually how value is created on this planet, is between each other.
Yeah. So let me go to what you were talking about. So everybody will have the link to Stephen's podcast about humans creating referrals and being referable, right? And you say something so beautiful, and I didn't hear it ever put this way, gang, but your reputation walks into the room before you do, right? And so, what got me thinking, like, how can we actually do that? Like, how do we know? How do we create that? You talk about different ways, right? But that's something that others say about us. We can influence it, but at the end of the day, our reputation, who you are. I wonder, I'm sure you've probably met people on both sides of that coin. Maybe somebody that had a huge following that looked amazing on the outside, and they had a great reputation, greatest reviews, and then you met them face to face and it didn't align with what you saw maybe, online. And then the reverse, someone with a small following that isn't on stages, that doesn't have the cachet, but has a tremendous character and tremendous personality. And so tell me about both sides of that coin, and how you think about just how do you think about cultivating that relationships? Because that's so hard for people to grasp and focus on.
let me first start by deconstructing what my opinion is the dichotomy between what I say about myself, what I put out there. We'll call that brand. And it's all semantics. So I'm just using
Okay.
these as definitions for this. So if somebody's listening to this and you have a different opinion, go for it. I love it.
Okay.
But so everyone understands what I'm talking about with brand is what we put out there. So what we see out there, like a big influencer and all that stuff, everything coming at us, that's their so-called brand. I feel like reputation is what you said, is what others say about us when we're not in the room, right? Customers and all that stuff. If it's digital, that's still part of the brand. That's what they're going to put out there and, all that kind of stuff. You can go look at other review sites. Yeah, sure. But truly, reputation is your experience with someone. And then now is what starts to build that reputation, right? But one of the things, if you're thinking about how to build a reputation, it's like with every single person. Here's a very simple anecdote from 30, 40, 50. I've heard this my entire life, and maybe it's a Southern thing. Always leave someone better than you found them.
Yeah.
Simple life philosophy, whatnot. And if you remember that, every interaction with another human being is building your reputation. So for example, this is why transparency and authenticity are such a big thing, and honesty. So Alex, if you and I have a conversation and you ask me, hey, can you do X, Y, or Z? And I'm trying to sell you something. Is it better for me to just try to sell you something? Yeah, we can do that. We see this all the time in sales. Oh yeah, sure, we can do that. Sure, we can do that. And then there's a letdown at the back end because people will say in sales, and I'm not saying this is right or wrong per se, but you've been in sales long enough. What do sellers tell like solution engineers to say? If the customer says, can you do that? You are taught never to say no. You say, here's how we can do that, right? Now, I don't mind it, but you better back it up. And at the end of the day, it's better to be transparent and authentic and say, hey, so I have a client right now, and I was very clear. We are going to pilot some new stuff as part of it. It may work. It may not. And he was like, I would love to be the guinea pig because we're going to try some new AI workflows, so some different things. But I'm like, I don't know for sure if it's going to work because we have to test it out.
Yeah.
Very transparent. And so I'm protecting the reputation because here's what we can promise. Here's what we can do. Here's what we have not tested. It's just part of that, just being transparent and saying, here's what really is. The other part, I think, of really building a reputation is if anybody goes and watches the TEDx, I talk about the 5 C's of referability. It's truly understanding your own character. And it's like, how do we put forth, like, what does that mean? Put forth character. Like if I were to ask that back to you, Alex, how would you show someone that you're a person of great character?
Yeah. I mean, what a great question. I love your take. I think it's those tiny little moments. And I go back to this term and I'm thinking about like human signals. Like I want to offer someone a glimpse into like number one, like who I am, so I might say something about myself. And so they get to know me. But I also think that there's something to be said for just what you said is like doing the right thing at the right time for the right reasons all the time and being dependable and that sort of thing. So, saying things like, I might not be right. I could be wrong with this one, but here's the reason why I'm saying it. And I want you, just like you said, you're saying, hey, I'm not telling you this is the answer. It's an answer. So all I'm there to do is be a real person. So it's these little moments that I'm trying to build trust. And it could be, I always say like every time you're in front of someone and everything you say is an opportunity to build trust or erode it. Mm-hmm. And, it takes so many little moments over time. Like trust is not, in my opinion, earned. A lot of people say like, oh, trust is earned. You do all these things over time. No, like people give you trust. They decide to give you a trust at a certain moment. It's given, but they have to take a risk on you. So no matter how long you know someone, how much you've done for someone, they have to give that trust to you and take a risk. Maybe it's a more mitigated risk, like if you're like from a referral or anything, but at the end of the day, it's a risk. So I think about little moments of being,
I love that. You know what?
That's really dependable and high character. Yeah.
That is phenomenal. I have actually never heard that before, that trust is not earned, it's given. And I love that, because you're empowering someone else and you're saying, listen, like, we're not trying to control it. It's like, I am respecting and I'm grateful for the fact that you would be willing to give that to me. It's like a present, right? But I want you to hear some of the things that you said. And this is the whole thing around something I talk about a lot, which is persuasion and manipulation. What you just talked about, just as examples, were some tactics. You actually were talking about, hey, if I show up and I'm transparent, if I can't do this, but I can do that. Like, I forgot the exact line that you used. Now, these are things that work, but those are tactics. And if you only teach that, like if you're trying to build a reputation, you do have to understand that this is what it looks like. But this is the part that many people miss. When you think about persuasion and manipulation, the tactics actually are identical. But I think you've heard me say this before. What's the difference between persuasion and manipulation, though?
Your intention.
Your intention.
Where it's directed at.
This is where you got to check where your heart is. But like, for example, what I said about something very fundamental. If you're kind to people, usually you get a better result. Now, if you're only being nice to someone just to get something out, that's manipulation, right? But no one, as a general rule, we all do things because there's some ancillary benefit for ourselves. Even when we contribute to someone, even when we donate time, we feel good about ourselves. Like, that's just internally, right? So very rarely can I imagine somebody I can't imagine a scenario where somebody's like truly just self-sacrificing because it's all bad for themselves. Like, I mean, I think about my kids. If it was them or me, I'd take myself and I'd go get tortured to save their but that is because I'm protecting my child. There's a benefit to me, even in that perspective. So like, it's part of the intent and the heart, but the tactics are actually still the same.
Yeah. It's, and that's a hard piece. I hate when my wife, like, she's an architect and she even sometimes goes, you have a whole podcast on manipulation. I'm like, screw you. Like, she does it jokingly, right? But like, that's because sales has such a poor reputation. My friend Dale Dupree says, we pay the penance for every bad salesperson that's come before us, right? And it is, right? And so people can't go, okay, yeah, right, sure. Like, great. Stephen and Alex are talking about selling, and everyone's kind and everyone's generous and they all have your best interests at heart. I'm not saying that at all. People are out there to, manipulate you and get something from you. And we should all have our blinders up. But the best people, I think, number one, we're both people are looking at some point to receive trust and give it and also connect with somebody. And I think there's signals when you see someone doing it correctly. And we've been I think everyone here can probably close our eyes and think, man, when was I on the other side of just a poor reputation? Somebody that really, everyone told me watch out for this person. Then I actually experienced it. And then it was the other way around. Someone said, this is one of the greatest human beings to talk to. And it did. And then maybe even other sides, maybe someone had a great reputation and then you got on the call with them and it just didn't vibe. Right. So it's I guess that just leads me to this question. Where do people, leaders, and I think a lot of people maybe miss, they do things that erode reputation without even realizing it. Mm-hmm. And maybe, I don't know if you teach it or things that we can all go, you know what? I didn't mean to do that, but that was so damaging, right?
Yeah. So
to my
I'll give you a
reputation
couple
or
of examples from my
referability.
own life of fails from a leadership perspective, where even though my intent was right, I'll show you some of the tactics that I missed along the way. So if I'm doing a leadership event and I'm like really, because right now I do a lot of leadership coaching for leaders, right? And I do these leadership workshops, things of that nature. And here's an example of a fail that I had in a situation where I was new to a team. And sometimes you learn because what I'm going to tell you is something I had seen a previous leader do. And for me, this was not a big deal, but I was in a different season of life when this happened to me. But I took what I'm about to share and did it with my team. And I got very, very different results. And thankfully, I had someone on the team come share with me how it was making the team feel. And here's what I was doing. I had a global team. And on Fridays around 5 or 5:30, I'd send out a text to the team, like on cell phone and everything. Hey, everyone, have a great weekend, blah, 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 just being nice, whatever. Now, in and of itself, sounds great. But here's the thing. At that time when I was sending those texts out, just been married, no kids, chill weekend, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I only found out later that it was eroding trust because doesn't this guy get it? He's texting in the middle of dinner because some people are on the East Coast. Some people are right there. I've got kids that I'm trying to bathe. And like now this is my boss that is texting. Do I text back? What happens if I don't text back? Am I not a team player? Like all of these things that we don't even think about because what the tactic that I miss or the philosophy that I miss is I didn't step into their world, understand what that does. And no leader is going to get everything right. Let's be very clear about that. But this reputation was like, I'm not caring about the world that they live in. He's just as happy-go-lucky. He's oblivious. My brand that I was trying to portray is like, I'm kind, I care about you.
Yeah.
But it's crazy. Like if you don't really, and so this is why it's very subtle. But the principle is, step into their world. What was if you actually think about what I was trying to do, is I wasn't about reputation. I was about brand because I was trying to show that I'm kind. I care about you. It's a tactic.
That's you focused,
And it's so subtle, but these are the things where if we always remember the principles scale, tactics don't. If all I care is about them, there's a lot of other things I can do to show them that I care, that I'm there for them, that they can trust me. So that's just one example. I could probably, I've got a few others that I could talk about, but I hope that's very clear how subtle it could be, but how big of an impact it can make.
Yeah, you make me think like you could want, and again, intention, manipulation and persuasion, your intention, like if you want to, like you want to, try to steal something from someone and your intention to defraud, and there's a lot of like, people that are just con artists out there, right? But like sometimes people are genuinely, thoughtful leaders, but like they're going at it with like maybe good intentions, but not with the right principles in mind, right? And one of those. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Thank you for the grace there. I think I know where you're going. So correct me if I'm wrong. For those that are listening, see, we're learning in real time. One of my biggest pet peeves is interrupting people. Real in-game lesson is if you think about what just happened, because it is a pet peeve of mine when people interrupt me, and I try my best not to do that to others. What happened in my brain is I was thinking about me. I have something I wanted to say, and that became more important than what Alex was saying, which we call rude, right? And so this is also things about like, I preach this stuff and I still make mistakes. All of us do that, right? But what I was going to say is intention matters more than technique, but technique still matters. So intention matters more than technique, but technique still matters. In the difference in what you're talking about, if you have a genuine intention and the principle was, I want to be in their world, I'm actually thinking about them, and then I made a mistake, 9 times out of 10, people are very willing to have grace on you and to forgive that.
Yeah.
If you actually think about the scenario that I was talking about, the intention, if you really look at my intention, was that I could show up kind. It's about me. I want them to think well about me, think good about me, that sort of thing. Even though, like on the outside looking, I know Stephen was just trying to be kind, but actually it was about me. So like the intention matters more than technique, but the technique still matters. Your scenario, you were going to go about the right intention. Technically, mine wasn't the right intention. So hopefully that's a way that people can like self-reflect and self-check if they really actually had the right intention or not.
Yeah, I love how you said intention and technique, and there's a difference there, right? Like they both matter, but the technique sometimes like something like very let's say just broad, like character, right? Like it's intangible, right? And people don't know what's in our heart, right? Like character is something that we know, but no matter what our intention is, people don't know what's in our heart. And I'm sure like leaders, maybe you like thought of this, and people that are in sales or in leadership or in any role, like how do you let people know that? Maybe, some people are vulnerable about just saying it, but like, how do you match what you say, action, and do, and let people know what's on your heart without having people just interpret or assume what's there? I'm curious.
There's a couple different ways that I've tried. Some work, some don't, and it also depends on the audience, the person. You're never. I said this earlier today on something else where I genuinely want everyone to like me. Just a want. Now, is that possible? No. So point being is you could try the same technique that worked with one person. It won't work with the next person, even if you're trying to step into their world, right? But here's my basic rule. Just tell them the truth. Here's what I'm trying to accomplish. Here's why I'm trying to accomplish it. And if it is self-serving, say, hey, this is a bit self-serving. This is why I need this to happen. So like, I can't think of a scenario right off the bat, but just tell them the truth about what you're thinking. Like I think about in some of my team meetings. Hey, if it is about them, this is really going to help you all out. This is what I'm trying to focus on. I think this is two-sided. It helps the business. It helps us hit goal. It'll help each and every one of you have a chance at promotion, raises, like all that kind of stuff. And I just walk through it. Just be transparent. There are certain times you cannot be transparent because let's say there's a big reorg coming. I can't tell everybody that accounts are going to shift and, you're going to be on a different team. I can't do that. So you tell people, hey, like if somebody asks you a point blank question, be like, hey, I am not in a position where that is my information to divulge, even if I had it. Like you're just very clear, I at my level, I can't. And and my ask is don't push it and put me in a position where I feel like I would have to lie or anything like that. But I want to be uber transparent with you. Like just tell people straight up. I do remember this one time I had a rep. I was brand new to this team and he was like the number one rep. And I told the team straight up, listen, this is who I am as a person. I will always get your back if you want to work on this team, because when you're a new leader, you never know who's going to give you a chance or not. But I'm just very open and honest. And they said, if you want another role, if you want to go, if you're looking, let me know. I will help you. Now, here's the problem. I think I'm being transparent, open, honest. In this scenario, the intention was 100% pure. Number one rep, all of a sudden I find out he tells me, hey, I'm leaving in 2 weeks, that sort of thing. He had months to tell me. And I said, listen, can we just have a heart to heart? I told you to give me time because here's the reason why. And I was very clear, here's the reason why, because I will help you, but I also want time to be able to get ahead of it, recruit, find the right, types of people, because you're always recruiting anyways as a leader and having good people, but it helps to know the time. And he was just honest with me and he goes, Stephen, how do we know that we can trust you? Leaders will say that and then they'll stab you in the back. So here's the thing is, even though my intention was truly pure, and I get my people's back. If they want to go work for me or work for someone else, I will help them get promoted. I'll help them find other roles that they're more suited for, whatever they want. Like that is actually something I am deeply passionate about, is getting people into the place that they want to be. He didn't know me well enough. He didn't have an at-bat. So what ended up happening is I helped a few others. Again, credibility. Wow. Then all of a sudden they're like, okay, this guy's real. He keeps his word. He doesn't stab people in the back. Like sometimes people just have to have that experience with you. And like you said, they have to take a risk and give you the trust. And it's just sometimes time. But I still remember that situation to this day. I'm like, I told you, man, I would have helped you and it would have been fine.
Like, and you don't even know. I just want you to literally look inside myself, and I can't. Like, it almost makes me think like character and trust isn't something you can declare. Mm-hmm. It's something that's revealed and is observed over time, through these little things. And again, like these are different signals. And, think of that. Like, if you think like, okay, I can't declare that this is what, like, I can't tell someone, I have your back always, just trust me, right? Like my words aren't enough. It has to be these observations that they notice. Wow, Stephen helped so-and-so after hour. Like Stephen, like got someone a job. Stephen, and it is like, when I say it's not earned, yes, over time, like you get people to earn and see, okay. Yeah. But again, these are little moments. It's still, even if you think you're earning trust, that person still has to, you can't decide that somene's trusting of you, they
or how they're perceiving
or how they're perceiving you, because it's their decision to ultimately make. You can only influence your actions in support of an intention, and over time, over those habits, over the long haul, those are how people see you, and again, what they say about you when you're not there, and that creates your reputation of being somebody that's trustworthy, not just
so good.
So yeah.
Well, there's also this aspect of your reputation where I know there's no way I could have a perfect reputation. I've messed up, but what about the times where you're doing the right thing and someone else misinterprets your intentions and the tactics or whatever, and now they go on and say you are a horrible person? And I'll give you an example that comes to mind. I remember one time I took over, a team. I had a seller on the team, wasn't performing. Look back, had never hit their quota ever, like the entire time of the company. And I mean, this was like 6 years, but the problem is like they were, more than that, they were moving from team to team and stuff like that. So I guess it wasn't getting caught. I end up having to have a tough conversation, right? But I notice this up front and I'm like trying to help this person. Well, anyways, we get to a place in time, like, is this the right role? Just very open, very, my intentions are pure. Is this the right role? Let's help you find a role that is more suited for you. I literally use my own reputation. I call other managers to help this person get interviews, like legit behind like closed doors, like,
oh wow,
genuinely trying to help this, because I don't want this person to be out the company, because every person has value. The thing that, especially when you think about all of us, we have skills. Sometimes leaders don't take enough time to match the skills of your employees to the right type of roles and advocate for them. Yes. This is literally what I did.
A huge thing that you did.
But long story short, this person ended up, we'll say the long story short, did things that literally I'm like, are you kidding me? I am trying to get your back and you're basically bashing me because, again, the invisible wasn't seen. And so this person was like, oh, Stephen was trying to stop me. Like, this is one sentence I will always remember because it came back to me. Stephen was trying to stop me or sabotage me from getting another role.
Oh, wow.
The very person who was walking and going to leaders and saying, I want you to interview this person. These are the strengths. This is where this person would be really good. I think they'd be great in this role and even leadership roles. And I'm like, that whole process, I'm like, dear Lord, I don't know what else to do. And so there are times in our lives, especially with being human, that you have to take a step back and have grace on others because that other person's human too. So we can call it forgiveness, we can call it grace, we can call it whatever. And you just got to be okay with that. So when we say to sell as humans, sales isn't just like selling a product, selling a reputation, having just a relationship. Like it doesn't matter if you're in project management, HR, if you're in a relationship, like we always talk about that, everything is sales. I mean, it's not easy. And this is why this reputation thing matters. And you have to know how to be able to push that forward appropriately. And that's a lot of what I teach is all the principles and the tactics to scale and structure it for any company to go out there and create revenue from their reputation.
Yeah. I mean, it just makes me think like we're all dealing with people at different, journeys, parts of our lives, like different worldviews. Like that person might have just had like a raft, like a tons of distrust from other managers, and you're more of the same, or so like it's like you can only do and say so much, but at the end of the day, people have to give you trust or actually like put a risk on you, right? And for that person, maybe it was too high of a risk, right? And that's unfortunate. I'm curious, like when you think about, like being referable and having a reputation, talk to me about what your mind, explain to the audience. I know we're at the very end, but they'll see it in the TED Talk. What is the difference of a tactic and a principle? And because a lot of people are going to want to, like on Monday morning or whenever they listen to this, they're going to want to apply some of what you're talking about to be referable, to have a great reputation. And some people might think that's a tactic. But talk to me, Stephen, about how you view the two differences and what you teach when you teach people how to be a trustworthy and referable and, have a great reputation.
So I'll talk like the TED Talk was about the 5 C's of referability, right? You have character, conviction, clarity, competence, and credibility. If you think about what it takes to accomplish that, those would be tactics. Here's a great example of a principle. It's what we've already said, stupidly foundational and fundamental. Be kind to people. Okay, a tactic would be, how does that show up? I open the door for you, right? Or I do X, Y, or Z, right? So if you think about like principles versus tactics, but then why are you actually doing it? So I split up the way that I walk a company through this between the who, the what, and the how. An example of a tactic is, if I think about my house, I have this framework called the 5 coins. Essentially, these are the 5 shortcuts or influential networks that I have sales teams and audiences be able to tap into, because again, this is a tactic where they can quickly shortcut the process of getting direct access to the decision maker or to the buyer that they're going after. Now, these are things you can structure, these networks that you can get involved in, exactly knowing where to go, how to be able to set that up. These are tactics, right? Because I know which network to plug into. But when I think about principles, think of it this way. I talk about competence. Have you ever, as a seller, tell me the truth, Alex, you have someone in the greater team, because in mid-market enterprise selling, you're not selling in a silo. Is that correct? You have other people on the team.
Yeah. Collaborative.
There are people that you have this sales call. If you cannot make it, you're like, no, we're rescheduling the call because you don't trust that person to handle that call by themselves. If the company has, let's say you have a call scheduled with the CEO of a prospect, which person on the sales team are you going to go put in front of that CEO? That's a principle. Why is that a principle? Because somebody might have the business acumen. Somebody might have the executive presence. Somebody has the ability to think critically on what's in it for the CEO and what's it like to think at their level. Like that's a reputation. A tactic, though, might be, okay, they're going to put together this dossier of everything that the CEO has spoken at the last 3 years. Here's the 4 problems that this person, is going through. The board just said they have to do a 20% cut in their business in this line item on the P&L. These are all tactics. The principle is that business acumen. Do you trust? So it's why AI is a good and a bad thing. It'll spit out a lot of the tactics for you, but this is why I go back to why is it 2 people can say the exact same thing and get vastly different results? AI, for example, can spit out the perfect email. Here's my question, Alex. On the other side of that email is a seller. You can pick anybody in your pod, anybody in your collaborative sales team to be on the other side of that email to go take the meeting. There are some people you would let take the meeting, others you wouldn't. Tactic was the email that got the meeting. Principle is the person behind it. So I don't know if a few of those were, really made it clear to understand, but I think the best part to think about is, who would you want to put in front of your customer CEO? That's the person is living by principles.
Yeah. And it's so funny because, we all want to know the exact things to do. But like, if you're like somebody, that person is guided by something different, guided by something that you align with. Like they are in it. Sometimes a lot of my contemporaries and people that are like top 1% sellers, like they don't want to bring managers on because they're viewed as like salespeople. They don't want to bring another peer on the sales team because the customers, like, you're working for the sales team and the revenue team, but professional services or a prior customer. Like I've brought in other customers, proactively that are dealing with the same problem. Actually, today I had someone from my customer education team who was a former customer. She doesn't get, her money doesn't change whether or not you buy from us or not. So it's like, okay, who can I bring around me because I think a lot of people try to be credible themselves. Like, I'll be the one that has all the credibility. I'll know about your business. I'll look at your 10Ks and I'll have all the credibility, when credibility actually exists outside of you through other people that trust you, and then people like to buy into, if other people trusting Alex and other people trusting Stephen, maybe I should, kind of like risk giving them trust, right? So I try to think of it that way, like, kind of building, a principles-focused network. I don't know, group that can build that reputation for you, right? And again, we just to bring it all back, like Rich, I went to Running Man last year. We were in a tent, hanging out. We did the run together. We did all this stuff. And I'm like, I could probably reach out to Stephen cold. Like I'm in the same group, but I don't know him, just because of that group. And I'm like, no way. Like he knows somebody that I'm close with. Like that person can actually, like he trusts me. He knows me. I've met him in person. Like I'm sure a great email, to hopefully speed that, trust.
I will tell you this though, that tactic would have worked on me and on most people. And here's why. That is a principled tactic. And one of the networks that I talk about, the coins, is community of influence networks.
Yeah.
So this community. So the thing is, that is part of my how and is one of the many. Yeah. But the fact that we're in the same community, it's not actually cold. So if you would have reached out to me and said, hey, I am part of Top, I saw you on Rich's podcast, or I saw that, we're connected, or whatever it is. I want you to think of it this way. And this is a good tactic for anybody listening. If you go at it with the right intent, right? Don't just use it just to use it and, go spam the world. But if you think about people who don't know each other and somebody says, hey, I was in that same fraternity, or I was in that same sorority. You get 2 people like, oh my gosh, so was I, and they're automatically brothers or sisters. Community. you see movies about this all the time, but it's based in real life. Two enemies get on the same football team. All of a sudden they go through a few games together and they work through it. Now all of a sudden they get bonded because they're on the same team or community. So if we understand, this is why I was talking about human relationships and the psychology of it. If we understand how humans work, to sell as human, that's part of the psychology. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely I would have. And that does shortcut the time because yes, essentially it is like a referral because you're getting a referral within the community. Now, obviously, is it even stronger that, Rich supported you and all that? 100%. But point being is that tactic is right within the wheelhouse of the referral effect and how you can shortcut and get to buyers and decision makers very, very quickly. It's part of what I do for companies is really set that structure up for them.
Yeah. Love it. And I know we're coming down, and for all of those who are like, okay, so, if I went to Ohio State, I can reach out to a random person who went to Ohio State. That was a community, right? That's not like what Steven's talking about here.
No, please don't.
Do not spam the world. But like maybe calling out something like a specific group or community, something that you saw that they did, that you were a part of, like something small, like there are,
more intimate. Yes.
Intimate communities. But, Stephen, just ending off, like, I'm going to ask this signature question, like what's somebody you would want someone to do after this to be more referable, things that you teach? I'm sure you teach a lot of principles and tactics, but how do you think somebody could just, simply do something that, can increase their referability?
The first thing I would do is do a self-audit. And the best way to do that is go to 3 people that you think could refer you to future business and go ask them, hey, if you were to refer me, why would you refer me? And if you wouldn't, this is full open season to be very transparent with me because I'm trying to be better. Why would you refer me or why would you not? What do I need to work on?
I like
Go
the
to
why.
3 people and have a vulnerable, honest conversation because the highest level of trust is if somebody is willing to put their reputation on the line to walk you in the door to someone else that trusts them. That's probably the one thing that I would do. Right. And then the second thing is selfishly, hey, give me a call, bring me into your company. Next event, have me as your keynote speaker or have me do a workshop for your team. But
they'll learn a ton.
Shameless plug.
That's not shameless at all because I respect you and I want to put you on stage. I want to refer you. So, and I will be. And I hope other people will listen to this and do it too. And one thing I would tell everyone to do, just ask, don't be afraid not to ask someone like, hey, do you know someone in your community, in your network that that might be in need of something that I do, right? Or that I offer, right? Like just, it's a very subtle way. Just don't be like, hey, so like, I just sold you something like, we have this referral program and you can get something like all about us. It's about like, if you know someone in need, like, do you know somebody that is dealing with a similar problem? And if so, like would love to talk to them and be genuine and ask that question. A lot of people just don't think to ask, like, do you know? Because people don't know. People won't do they need to be directed, right?
Yep.
And that's a great thing to do. Lastly, Stephen, this is a way to maybe get people to connect to you and to reach out to you. Maybe a very different question, but if I asked your wife, your kids, the people that know you the best, Stephen, something that is just so totally you, maybe it's something that happened to you, that would only and could only happen to you, or something that, only you do. What is something that is just so totally Stephen?
It is very hard to, and I don't think this is unique to me. There are people of this nature. If you walk away from a conversation with me and you are not laughing at least once during the conversation, I'm sick. Like I literally must be on my deathbed or something because it is impossible because that is actually my tactic if you will, is my pattern interrupt is I genuinely want to make someone laugh and smile. I believe laughter is truly the medicine for the soul. I think that's how it's said or whatnot, but I want you walking away with a smile on your face and having laughed from a conversation with me.
I love it. Well, I've been laughing and will be for hopefully years to come. So, Stephen, where should we have people connect with you, reach out, find you after this?
Yeah, all the socials, Stephen Uman. Hopefully, if you're watching this, you can see how to spell my name, or stephenuman.com, STEPHEN, O, M as in Mary, E as in elephant, N as in Nancy, if you are listening via audio, but stephenuman.com, and that's all my socials as well.
All right, Stephen Uman, thank you for coming on today, my man. Hopefully not the last conversation.
I appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much.
All right.